Leo adjusted the straps on his backpack and took a deep breath of the warm desert air. Today was the perfect day for an adventure in Arches National Park. He had read all about its incredible rock formations and couldn't wait to see them in person. The bright morning sun painted the red rocks in shades of orange and gold, and the scent of sagebrush filled the air. As he followed a dusty trail, a rustling sound made him stop. A small, striped tail peeked out from behind a rock. "Who's there?" Leo called out, stepping closer. A ringtail popped out, his big eyes shining in the morning sun. "Hey there! I'm Rusty the Ringtail," he said. "What brings you to Arches?" Leo grinned. "I want to learn all about this place. I heard the arches are millions of years old. Do you know how they were made?" Rusty flicked his tail. "I sure do. The arches formed over millions of years as wind, water, and ice carved the sandstone into amazing shapes. This whole area used to be covered by an ancient sea. When the water disappeared, layers of rock were left behind. Over time, the forces of nature sculpted them into arches, towers, and other formations." Leo's eyes widened. "That's incredible! Can you show me some of the most famous arches?" "Of course, follow me," Rusty said, leading the way across the red rocks. As they climbed a small hill, Leo spotted a towering, thin arch stretching high above the ground. "Wow, that must be the biggest one," he said. Rusty nodded. "That's Landscape Arch, the longest in the park. It stretches over 300 feet, but it's getting thinner every year." Leo gazed up in amazement. "So one day, it might fall?" "That's right," Rusty said. "Erosion is always changing the landscape here. In fact, pieces of this arch have fallen off in recent years." They continued hiking until they reached a group of rock formations that looked like people standing together. "These look like giant statues," Leo said. Rusty chuckled. "That's why they're called the courthouse towers. People say they look like stone guards watching over the park." Leo pretended to salute. "Then I'd better be on my best behavior." As they wandered farther, they arrived at a massive, double-layered arch. "This one looks like a giant window to the sky," Leo said. "That's Double Arch," Rusty explained. "Water once flowed through the rock here, washing away the sandstone and creating these two arches side by side." Leo shaded his eyes and peered up. "It's amazing how nature can carve something so perfect." They hiked through narrow canyons, known as slot canyons, where the towering walls of rock made the air feel cooler. "Why are these canyons so narrow?" Leo asked. Rusty explained. "When flash floods rush through here, they carry small rocks and sand that carve out the walls over thousands of years. That's why these canyons twist and turn." After a while, Leo's stomach rumbled. "I think it's snack time." He sat under a twisted juniper tree and pulled out a granola bar. Rusty sniffed at a berry bush nearby. Just then, a gust of wind swept through the canyon. "The wind is so strong here," Leo said. Rusty nodded. "The wind helps shape the rocks, just like water and ice do. Over thousands of years it smooths the sandstone, creating new formations." Leo marveled at how nature worked together to shape the park. They continued their adventure, spotting desert wildlife along the way. A lizard basked in the sun, blending in with the red rocks. A golden eagle soared overhead, searching for food. "The desert is full of life," Leo said. Rusty agreed. "Even though it looks dry and empty, many animals have adapted to live here. The kangaroo rat, for example, never needs to drink water. It gets all the moisture it needs from the food it eats." Leo gasped. "That's amazing. I wouldn't last a day without my water bottle." Rusty laughed. "Animals here are survivors. Even the plants have special ways to hold on to water. See that cactus? It stores water in its thick stem, so it can survive during long dry spells." Feeling energized, they hiked toward their final stop. As they rounded a bend, Leo gasped. A breathtaking sight stood before them. delicate arch rising proudly against the deep blue sky. "This is the most famous arch," Leo cheered. A jackrabbit nearby twitched its ears. "People come from all over to see this one. It's even on Utah's license plate." Leo smiled. "I can see why. It looks like a giant doorway in the sky," Rusty added. "People used to call this arch Cowboys' Chaps because it looks like the leather leg coverings cowboys wore." Leo thought about the early people who once lived here. Were there Native Americans in this area? Rusty nodded. "Yes. The Ute people lived here for hundreds of years. They left behind petroglyphs, pictures carved into rocks, telling stories of their lives." Leo's curiosity grew. "Can we see some?" Rusty led him to a rock wall where ancient carvings of animals and hunters decorated the surface. "Wow," Leo whispered. "It's like a message from the past." As the sun began to set, Leo and Rusty climbed onto a rock and watched the desert glow in shades of orange and pink. "I've learned so much today," Leo said. "Wind, water, ice, and time all work together to create this amazing park." Rusty nodded. "And there's still so much more to explore. Did you know there are over 2,000 arches in this park?" Leo's jaw dropped. "That's incredible! I want to come back and see them all." Rusty smiled. "I'll be here, ready for our next adventure." Leo stretched his arms and yawned. "I can't wait for tomorrow's adventure." As they made their way back to camp, Leo felt grateful for everything he had discovered. Arches National Park was full of wonders, and he knew he would be back again soon.